So let's take a walk down memory lane for a moment. The Steele dossier was released 10 days before Trump's first term. They tried to delegitimize him. You remember all this. You know, the claims that he was backed by Russia. Well, if you fast forward to present day, Senator Chuck Grassley has publicized records showing the FBI knew Nellie Ohr was one of the key players in the dossier, lied to Congress, and they didn't prosecute her. So for more, let's bring in our D.C. correspondent, Chris Bedford. So Bedford, when we look at Ohr, what did she play? What role was she playing in the Steele dossier?
So she played a couple roles in the Steele dossier. The Steele dossier was largely based on, or large parts of it were based on, an earlier dossier from Fusion GPS, where she was a Russian expert. She wasn't on staff. She was a contractor with Fusion GPS, and she provided a lot of information. She had emails back and forth with attorneys at the Department of Justice, including with her husband, Bruce Ohr, who was at the Department of Justice, was talking with lawyers about this, was helping to put this information together. And then once that information ended up being used in the Steele dossier, which is the one that's even more infamous, more broadly speaking, she and her husband, who was at the Department of Justice, kind of served as representatives of this information to DOJ lawyers, to the FBI lawyers. In fact, her husband was a witness for the Department of Justice on the matter until he was judged to be someone who had not disclosed everything, and to be judged to be someone who was unfit for this, couldn't be a reliable witness. Shortly after that, he was taken, around that time, he was taken off of that case, and he was taken demoted until he was eventually let go. And he, the whole time, claimed, Bruce did, that he had spousal protective privileges. He wasn't going to say anything that could potentially implicate his spouse, which is, of course, many of the different things they were doing absolutely would have. But she didn't take that privilege. Instead, she claimed that she didn't have anywhere near the contacts she did. We now know from the FBI's files, released by Chuck Grassley, that they knew all of this information. They knew that she'd lied, and the Department of Justice decided not to prosecute. Now, that is worth noting even more specifically because this is the same time that they were prosecuting people like Roger Stone and other Trump associates for having lied before Congress and for perjury and things like that, or lying to the Department of Justice. So they were actively going after Trump associates who were guilty of this crime, and at the same time actively ignoring associates, anti-Trump associates, and relations of the Department of Justice who are committing the same sorts of acts. The whole thing about the Russiagate has been a lie and a ruse and total corruption and essentially a soft coup that failed. The whole thing from start to finish. And I've been reporting on it for years and years. I know I've forgotten far more names than I can still remember on Russiagate and all the different things pulling back and forth for 8 years now. And every week it seems like we learn something new that confirms all of your worst suspicions from day one. It gets even nastier and even uglier than you could have expected. It's more people are conflicted, more people are in relations with each other. It's one of the dirtiest scandals in modern American political history.
Yes, all that true and being said, there's one problem here, which is that no one gets punished for any of this. And I mean, is there any realistic path for any of these players to be punished in any way? Or do you have any thoughts about what DOJ should do now? Because I think this really demoralizes a lot of people in America who want to see some kind of justice for really what should be one of the greatest scandals in American history.
I think the DOJ ought to look into prosecution for lying. You can't commit perjury. You're not allowed to, even if you're the wife of a former attorney for the Department of Justice. These aren't weapons that need to be invented. This is not weaponizing the legal system. This is using the legal system in a way that is compatible with the way the legal system was used under the previous president, the way the legal system was weaponized against President Trump. And that was to go after Trump's associates. This is to go after the people who actually did weaponize the government, who actually put us in a place where half of the American public, or even more, sorry, that's a baby you might hear squealing in the background. I'm on nanny duty right now. Where half the people in the country no longer trust the Department of Justice. That's a real problem. When Abraham Lincoln's first speech, you're well-versed in this, Matt, at the Lyceum, talked about the extreme danger to a Republican system of government when the God-fearing, law-abiding people no longer trust that the law will be applied to the people who are already lawless and disregard our institutions. That means that everybody ends up losing faith in this system, and it becomes extremely dangerous for maintaining a free and prosperous republic and keeping us from each other's throats.
Well, listen, it's D.C., so there's always a power grab behind the scenes. Right now, baby Josephine is trying to grab the power away from this. But the battle that we're going to focus on...
No nanny this week. It's wonderful.
The battle that we're going to focus on, though, is the House Oversight, because it's one of the most powerful seats in Congress, right? Rep. Jerry Conley just recently passed away. So take us through all of this power grab and who we think the frontrunners are that might take over.
Absolutely. You've got 4 contenders right now to lead this important committee, and the Oversight Committee is important. The ranking member of the Democratic Party is going to be getting a lot of television time, going to get a lot of airtime, and their job is, in the limited capacity that the power that the party that doesn't have legislative power and doesn't have executive power is able to wield, is in oversight, when Congress actually does its job and wants to actually do these, as opposed to kind of the Republican strategy method of simply holding hearings and then going on television to brag about them and fundraise. You can do real damage with this position. So who they pick actually matters, and it's somewhat a signal of where the party's going. One of my favorite guys on here, one of the 4 candidates, is Stephen Lynch. He's a Democrat from Massachusetts. He's born in South Boston in a project, the youngest of 6, Catholic family. His father was an iron worker. This guy is straight out of The Departed, or more like Good Will Hunting, actually, because he followed his father into becoming an iron worker. And then he rose to be the youngest president of their union at age 30 before leaving to study law at college. He had a couple run-ins with the law himself before this. He got arrested for smoking dope at a Willie Nelson concert. He got arrested for beating up Iranian students who were hosting an America. You know what? I'm just going to bring her on here for a second.
Yes, I've been waiting. Give the people what they want, Bedford.
Here we go. Give the people what they want. He got arrested for beating up Iranian students holding an anti-America protest. Like, this guy seems like he's straight out of a Boston movie. And he's a Democrat when he ran for office in the first place because he didn't like that gay groups were forcing their way into the St. Patrick's Day March, a Catholic parade for children. And then had a similarly socially conservative record when he was in the State House of Massachusetts, the State Senate of Massachusetts. And then we came to Congress on a pro-life agenda, who was also pro-traditional marriage. But like so many Democrats whose districts have changed, South Boston does not look like it did when I was a kid growing up. It's all condos now. It's wealthy. It's a lot of yuppies. You'll see the latest gay flag there. And he moved the Democratic Party. He voted with Joe Biden 100% of the time. He raises money for Planned Parenthood and things like that. But Democrats, activists still hate him because of his past as just being a classic Massachusetts old school Democrat politician. But this is a committee that really takes care of the seniority. That's why you have people die in office. Remember, AOC ran for this office in December, and she lost it. And she didn't even try running this time because she said all they care about is seniority. So he's the acting ranking member, and he's got a good beat on being able to be the next ranking member of Oversight. Then you have Kweisi Mfume, who was born Frizzell Gerard Tate. He comes from a working class background, a poor background, grew up in Baltimore in a rough neighborhood, was involved with gangs, or at least hung out with them when he was a kid. It's kind of hard to go outside and not get involved with that when you're a kid in a neighborhood that's overrun by gangs. He's been in Congress for a very long time. Since the early 1990s, or actually he came in when Ronald Reagan was in his second term. And in the early 1990s was already chairman of the Congressional Black Caucus. Then he left to be president of the NAACP. So this guy is just a race warrior. He's got all of the traditional insider power D.C. bracket to how to get political influence, especially amongst Black Americans. He's checked every one of those boxes. And then he came back to Congress, and he's even a little bit older, born in the 1940s, but he's someone who should be taken seriously because of his backing by the Congressional Black Caucus. Then you've got another member of the CBC, Jasmine Crockett, who, if she didn't exist, conservative media would have to invent her. I was trying to figure out with you guys yesterday, how exactly did she become famous again? I'm pretty sure it was a fight over nails and body type and bleach blonding hair with Marjorie Taylor Greene on in a committee hearing. Like, this woman is absolutely wild. She's an overt racist. She's threatened violence repeatedly, whether it's against Elon Musk or Ted Cruz. She's a wild woman, but she's when the base is really active for a fight, she's been providing that, and she's not been saying we need to be quiet in front of Donald Trump. And so she's someone who actually could be a contender still without that seniority. If AOC couldn't get it, Jasmine Crockett doesn't have her credentials. And then finally, you've got Robert Garcia. The first time you might have heard of this guy, unless you've got the terrible luck to live in his district in California, was when this atheist, married to a man, perfectly progressive record, born in Peru, like literally not even born in this country, congressman, took his oath of office, not on the Bible, which even Thomas Jefferson took an oath on the Bible. He didn't do that. Instead, he took his oath on an original copy of the Superman comic and a picture of his parents. So it's kind of a strange guy. I guess he gets all the progressive cred. AOC and those types like him more than anyone else because he's the type who really wants to back their sweeping agenda, their Medicaid for all, their Green New Deal. He's totally on board with every progressive cause in a way that the CBC and Jasmine Crockett and the rest really aren't. So he's an interesting guy to watch for in general for the future of where the Democrats are going, although he's got a more difficult track to winning here than the rest.
Well, Chris, whatever microphone you have, I want, because somehow you use it and it takes away the baby's crying so we can't hear it. And yet we still get to see the baby. And what a wonderful daughter. This girl is going places. She's just having a great time.
She is. She's ready for prime time.
Baby Josephine, all the segments, she is absolutely welcome here on the show.